stock my kids' snack drawer with me while I tell you about my favorite author, Elizabeth Merva. So, Elizabeth Merva is a good friend of mine. I determined that she was going to become my friend after I read a few of her books as a beta reader. For those of you who don't know, a beta reader is somebody who reads a book before it's ready to be published to give feedback on it. So we connected through a writing group on Facebook, and yes, Artemis, thank you. And I fell in love with her writing style. Honestly, I can't even remember which of her books it was that I first beta read. I kind of think it was War Torn, which was her debut novel. So Elizabeth Merva writes fantasy romance, primarily werewolf romance, but she has all sorts of fantastical creatures in her stories. She has vampires, werewolves, elves, fairies. No, you're not allowed to read it. My 8-year-old is very interested in the idea. She has, as I said, she has all sorts of fantastical creatures in the stories, from vampires and werewolves to elves and fae and
Fairies.
yes, fairies. What she calls aphotic, which are which are beings that are the result of a mixed mixed relationship, an interspecies relationship between, say, a werewolf and a vampire, or a fae and a werewolf, things like that. And in Elizabeth's world, it is illegal to be aphotic. So the aphotic are slaves, which is it's heartbreaking to watch, honestly. I know they're fiction, but she really creates such an immersive world that it's hard to watch this horrible systemic racism that's all through this world. And I hate watching it, but the fact that she's created such an immersive world that I can feel this horrible guilt and sadness for a fictional race of beings is a sign of how good she is at her job. But at the heart of this entire series, and I don't want to give too many spoilers, but hold on just a moment. It's going to be noisy. So at the heart of this series is one couple. Their names are Raven and Logan, and they are the main characters in the novel Aphotic Born. Raven is a vampire, ? Maybe. And Loic is... I said the wrong name. Raven and Logan. So Raven is possibly a vampire, and Logan is a werewolf, and they are fighting on opposite sides of the war. The Lycans, the werewolves, are against the systemic racism and against the systemic oppression of the aphotic, and the vampires are the oppressors. So Raven and Logan, being different species, are on opposite sides of the war, and they end up having a drunken one-night stand and end up mates completely by accident. And their love story, without giving too much away, is the type of love story that can tear down realms and rebuild them. And that is just, it's this sweeping epic romance, spicy as I'll get out. And it's just the greatest thing. I get so excited every time I talk about Raven and Logan. But Raven and Logan's love story is not the only one that Elizabeth's books follow. All of her books are in the same world, the same universe. So she has other books that follow other couples in the world. So her book War Torn is the story of Logan's aunt and uncle. Her book Haven, I don't want to tell you whose story that is, but it is a very key story in the world from a previous generation before Raven and Logan. And so that's kind of what the Mervaverse is all about. But the best thing about the Mervaverse, the best thing about Elizabeth Merva's books is the characters. She creates the most vivid characters I've ever seen. I mean, you know how we all get caught up in From Blood and Ash or ACOTAR, those characters, Fourth Wing, the Plated Prisoner series. We all get so caught up with the characters in those. The Mervaverse characters are every bit as vivid as those, if not more so. They are the most well-rounded characters that I've ever seen. They are just, I fall in love with every single one of them every time I read it. And except Carl, because nobody likes Carl, but you'll get to Carl later. So these are, yeah, if you are in the mood for a series that is going to rip your heart out and put it back together, then the Mervaverse is absolutely what you need to be reading. So I recommend that everybody start with the Aphotic Born book. The plan, as I understand it, is for book 2 of the Aphotic Born is in the Immortals End series, and book 2 is expected to come out in September. And then once you have read Aphotic Born, I would go back and read War Torn and then Haven. If you're looking for a little palate cleanser in between, let's see, what is her Red Riding Hood retelling called? I can't think of the name of it right now, but she has a Red Riding Hood retelling, just a short little spicy, dark retelling of the Red Riding Hood fairy tale. So if you're looking for a little palate cleanser in between, you could grab that one. She has The Christmas Puppy, which is a Christmas novella. So that's the way that that's the order that I recommend. But you can start honestly with any of the books. It really just depends on what sort of tropes you're going for. But if that's the sort of thing that you enjoy, then I would love to hear your thoughts on the Mervaverse. And this is the snack drawer almost finished.